Millennials, it has certainly become a buzzword of late for marketers, but what does it really mean and who are these people? Hi, I'm Daniel Burstein, Director of Editorial Content at Marketing Sherpa. We are here at the DMA's annual event, and I'm joined by Ann Greeny, Head of Marketing for Stumbleupon. Thanks for joining us, Ann.
Thank you for having me.
So your audience is comprised largely of millennials, and we were talking about you do a lot of testing. So what are you looking to learn from millennials?
Well, it's interesting when we talk about millennials. A lot of people think the millennials is a demographic that consists of like 24-year-olds. Well, it's really not. It's 18 to 35. So 40% of millennials are actually parents. So when we talk about millennials in general, we have to think of how vast this demographic really is. And so testing becomes key. We do a lot of testing, from social perspective, but especially with email. That's a big piece for us. So there we're testing everything from subject lines to pieces of content. To templates. So understanding how they're digesting content and what type of content works best for them.
So I want to stop and really emphasize that point, make sure the audience doesn't miss it. So Stumbleupon, it's a social platform, and we hear lots of buzz about social, but you are using email heavily. And so why are you using email? Why are you testing an email?
Well, so Stumbleupon is a discovery platform. So we have mobile apps and desktop web. We've been around for 10 years. So we take the 60 trillion web pages that are out there and we serve you what's best for you, personalized for you. So depending on what your interests are. So there's a tremendous amount of content, and picking the content is crucial for us. So when we're doing these different types of tests, really figuring out what content works for what type of people. And one of the things that we found especially is figuring out the times of day when people are opening these emails, figuring out what platform they're opening. When we're talking about millennial, the majority of them are mobile first. So they are opening their content on mobile. So that means not only does your email need to be responsive to mobile, you should probably build that template mobile first, knowing that they're going to open it there. And when you're talking about building mobile first, you're building pieces of content that fit on a 6-inch device. So this is going to be much different than building for an actual laptop screen. And so figuring out what pieces work, how it works, how it's laid out, so that you can easily scroll through and find the content that you want.
And you talked about time of day testing. Have you found that certain times are more likely to be open on mobile and certain times are more likely desktop, or?
Yeah, so during the day, especially for millennials, it is mobile. And this is what's important when you're marketing to them. So one of the key statistics that we found in Stumbleupon, which at first kind of gave us was a warning flag, was that our average users their session length had decreased in the last few years. So as we're looking at that, we're like, oh, what does that mean? And then what we ended up finding was it decreased in session length, but they're logging on multiple times a day. So it's more bite-sized pieces of content consumption as opposed to sitting down in front of your laptop or in front of your desktop computer for an hour at a time. Now it's 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And total, when you look at, aggregate, you look at how much time they're spending total per day, it's much longer than they were previously. But now it's just broken up in pieces. So that's important to remember when you're trying to connect with them, because you want to make sure that content is easily digestible in 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever that piece of time that you get from them.
So have you done any tests on length of content or different mediums like video, audio, text?
Yeah, so we do. So at Stumbleupon, we use content from throughout the web. Every piece of content that's out there can be used on Stumbleupon, which makes it very unique. And so we're seeing what kinds of content different demographics are using. So especially with the millennial audience, video has become incredibly important. But it isn't that high production value video anymore. Now it's some of these short bursts. This is why Vine, Instagram, all of these short form videos have really taken off in the last year, or last few years. And that's where we're also seeing this rise of the internet star. So brands are now turning to these internet stars who are Vine stars, Instagram, Snapchat, and they're creating content for brands and getting paid thousands of dollars. There's even an agency that represents only internet stars. So this is an interesting evolution that we're seeing, because on mobile, that high production value content doesn't matter quite as much because often your device is only about 6 inches. It's more about being straight and to the point. And when you're producing a video on Vine, if you're doing it right, or on Instagram, you have to get to the point quick because it's only 6 seconds.
And it seems like connecting with a personality that they can really trust
Yep.
and that really provides value to them.
Yep, absolutely. And that's very difficult for brands, especially entering into a new social platform. So it's always hard to jump right in. So finding experts in this space can be quite helpful in getting you connected to the right audience.
Now, when we talk about the types of content, I think a lot of marketers have assumptions about what millennials are interested in, but your content tests found some really surprising results.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we see brands come to us or publications and they think, oh, we want to hit this millennial audience. Well, it's probably a lot of lowbrow content. It's the fail videos of 2005, 2010, those type of things. And some of that stuff still works, but what we see now working even more, and the content that's getting engaged with the most, is really this, almost like the scientific studies that, how does your brain react for beer versus wine? How much sleep do you really need? What is your sleep position? What matters most to get that perfect night's rest? Those type of things, like millennials love that. And again, you're remembering that millennials are 18 to 35. This isn't one demographic in college. Millennials are now very much in the workforce, and we, have evolved from that college-only crowd. And now we're even seeing, especially in colleges in general, because that's where Stumbleupon really grew in its infancy, that demographic as well is still searching for real quality content and authentic content. So we index content from, the best websites that are out there, from the Journal to New York Times, NPR, all of this stuff. And it all works really well. But millennials are gravitating more towards an authentic voice. So the elite dailies, the mics, the sites out there that really talk directly to millennials, this is where they're connecting even more.
Well, there's so much out there, right? So authenticity
Yeah.
and trust seem to really
Yeah.
cut through that noise. Huh?
Yeah. And that's the same with like the internet stars, is they already have their audience. They know the right audience and they already know how to engage with them. So leaning on some of them. But granted, now this can be incredibly expensive because now they're demanding like thousands of dollars per second, which is ridiculous. But there are still opportunities out there to jump into the space and really to lean on the knowledge base of some of these providers that are out there.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important to note that it's more traditional advertisers might be used to buying the space.
Yeah.
Right? They're buying a space from a publication, but they're buying more than that, right? Because they are
Yeah.
buying, in a sense, that authenticity there. The brand's kind of rubbing off on them.
And this is what we're seeing more and more, which I think is really unique in the space. Banner ads just aren't working. They don't work for marketers. We buy banners, and we're hearing more and more that marketers are buying banners, and it doesn't work as well. So what they're turning to is native content. And native content works incredibly well. So it's creating that content for marketers, and then after that, you need to know what to do with it. So you got to amplify it. So you amplify it via email, via ads, via social. So it's understanding you don't have to be the content producer now. You work with great agencies and great publications to produce quality content for you that speaks to your brand and speaks to their audience, and then you amplify it through different ways and means.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Sam. I think you give us all hope for the future of what millennials will bring with their content tests. And thank you for watching. If you are looking for snackable, bite-sized insights from And Then, you can get more at marketingsherpa.com/DMA.